This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ, when it comes to marriage, there are a lot of couples that put a good face on the outside, but behind closed doors, things are toxic and not okay. And a lot of times, nobody realizes that's what's actually going on until one of them snaps. And in the story I'm telling you today, that is precisely what happened. This is the case of Susan Wright. Everyone, welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband Russ true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Russ, aka Styling and Profiling, back in the building.
Oh, Styling and Profiling brought that one back.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It is a classic. You have been saying that a long time.
Well, I have been a profiler, and even though I was getting made fun of in the beginning and told it's stupid, and you know, I'm still here styling and profiling, even though I got, just the hater to my right.
Almost 5 years later.
Yeah.
Can you believe we've been doing this for almost 5 years?
It doesn't seem that long. I feel like we started like a year ago.
No, we started 5 years ago, July 2019.
That's crazy.
Wife of Crime is going to be 5 years old.
That's nuts.
I know.
Well, we stopped twice.
We did. We took breaks, obviously. Once for COVID, once for... I broke my back.
Yeah, spinal. But, it's all right. I still have a leg up on the competition.
So this week, somebody tagged me on TikTok in a story, and it actually is a little similar-ish to our case this week, but it's a story of a woman in the UK named Karina Smith who, I think it was last year, she was put in prison for life because she murdered her husband. She murdered him by boiling a pot of water with sugar in it, and while he slept, she came in the room and poured the boiling water all over him. Whoa. And then left the house.
What's the sugar do? Makes it stick?
Yeah, I think because it makes it like extra sticky.
Oh.
Well, he died of his injuries, but it turns out her reasoning for doing this is because he was sexually assaulting her children.
Oh, shit.
And her one son, who was a little older, he actually committed suicide a few years before, and her daughter told her that that's the reason. So she's in prison for life now.
Free that woman.
But it's like, it gives you a lot of thinking to do about if this woman should be in jail. She snapped. She murdered somebody 100%. But like,
I, as Judge Wapner, you know who Judge Wapner is?
No.
He's from the People's Court.
Is it Wapner and you say Wapner?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
My grandma used to call him Judge Wapner, so I call him Judge Wapner.
His mama call him Cassius Clay. I'm going to call him Cassius Clay.
Facts. Now, I forgot what I was talking about.
As Judge Wapner.
A.K.A. hashtag vote for Russ Judge.
Mm-hmm.
I would just give her some probation if she's never killed anyone in the past.
No, she hasn't.
And she had a clean record. I would just be like, all right, you got to live the rest of your life without killing anyone now. And then you don't go back.
I agree. Like, I think that she should not be in jail for life. I mean, maybe you got to do a little bit of time. And I'm sure she would gladly do a little bit of time after finding that information out. But like, put her in jail for life?
Give her like some house arrest or something.
It's crazy. So, free Karina Smith.
Yeah.
There's actually a petition online that you can Google and sign. I think it's like a change.org petition or something to lower her sentence.
You know, I wonder, like, if you can't kill someone who does that to your children, who can you kill?
I mean, you can't kill anybody.
You should be able to kill some people.
Well, they were married for 38 years.
Oh,
they were married a long time.
The kids were probably big then.
Yeah, I think the kids were older at this point. I mean, my parents have been married for 37 years, and I'm older. But I don't know how long the abuse went on. I don't know all the details of the story. I'm pulling a Russ. I didn't deep dive this thing or anything. I read one article about it. But I actually read the article. And I was tagged in a video from one of our listeners. So
we get tagged in a lot of stuff now. I try to watch a good amount of it, but sometimes some gets like slips through the cracks.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. But
I still read all the I read almost every comment underneath like all the posts on Patreon and Instagram. Facebook, that's where your relatives are that like they always want to ask under every picture you post, how are you? Like what?
Or they'll post on your wall.
Yeah.
Like no one does that anymore. Posts on the wall.
Yeah. All right, folks, I'm back at it with the review of the week. And this week's review is from Leandra. It says, "The mold needs a Post-it, 5 stars. I cannot get enough of this podcast. Russ cracks me up. So hard I had to pull over during Jack the Ripper when he mentioned testing dried up baby gravy on the cleanup towel."
What? I don't
Jess
even remember.
is so awesome. Great storyteller. Amazing research. Russ sounds like Mark Wahlberg and Ted naming off those Patreon names every episode. However, he needs a Post-it and pen because he can't remember people's name in each case to save his life. LOL. Love all the love and laughter y'all give each other. I literally fall asleep listening to you two. 10 out of 10 recommend. Pass go. Collect 200. Hashtag vote for Russ. Hashtag Wheezy laugh.
Oh, that's funny.
That is. So I don't remember, but I could assume what a cleanup towel is.
Oh, yeah. I haven't listened to that episode in years.
Like, did I mention a jizz rag or something?
I don't know.
Possibly. I might have to check it out.
Yeah, I got to go back and listen to the episode because I have no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah, because, I mean, since we've been doing this 5 years, that could have been 4 years, 3 years ago. It could have been.
I think it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't remember what I did this morning.
You don't remember anything. We need to get you that ginkgo biloba. Well, this month on the Patreon, we are watching and reviewing What Jennifer Did. And I'm personally, Russ goes into every documentary blind because he doesn't watch true crime or listen to true crime other than our podcast.
Well, you know why I don't listen to true crime, really?
Why?
Because I don't want to be influenced by other shows. So no one could ever say I copied anything. Like, I have no idea what other true crime podcasts really do.
Well, you used to listen to Criminal and you used to listen to Crime Junkie.
Yeah, way back when. And there's a few Friends podcasts that I checked out here and there.
Yeah.
But I don't, because I don't I don't want to be influenced, like even subconsciously, like about what other people are doing. So like,
Interesting.
I just stay on here and I be me.
Okay. Well, it's good. It's working out for us. Well, we are watching What Jennifer Did. I'm going into this case completely blind. I know a few podcasts have covered it, but I have never heard this case, so I'm very excited to watch it. And it's on Netflix, and that's the one we're doing for June. We just finished our 5-episode series of Homicide New York, so there's so much content over there. If you guys want more episodes, definitely go over and check it out. Right now, we're in the process of moving to a new house. So once we get moved in and settled, we're turning one of our bedrooms into a podcast studio. And Russ will never complain again about having to hold his microphone because we will have it on mic stands again. And we will get more consistent with our episodes and maybe add some bonus content on the main feed. But until then, head over to patreon.com for any bonus content. And you have the patron shoutouts.
I don't think you took a breath in that last paragraph.
That was a run-on sentence.
Yeah, where's the punctuation?
That was funny.
All right. So here are the patrons that joined this week. Brittany, Lexi, Devin, Nora, Andrea, Courtney, Michelle, Ashley, Pierce, Jonah, Caitlin, Tegan, Andrea, Nina, Hell on Glitter Wheels. No, Glitter Heels.
Oh.
See, you didn't put any spaces there, so.
Well, that's how they put it on there.
But how am I going to read that?
I don't know.
As good as I can. Lena, Carly, Mia, Kate, Denise, Jenna, Echo, Jonathan, Victoria, Rachel, Kathy, Erica, Dionica, Lainey, Melinda, Sean, Stacy, Sarah, Kyle, Courtney, Kimberly, Jay, Brittany, Taylor, and Megan.
That was good. A lot of names.
Wow, guys, thank you. I'm flattered every week that you guys join.
Yes, we're so humbled. So thank you for joining. Cheers to you guys.
Yes, I got my handy dandy Kirkland beer here.
Kirkland beer. You love the co.
Cheers. I mean, in the one video we put on YouTube, you are drinking a Kirkland IPA.
I am. I like it. It's good.
So, also, if you guys want to see some YouTube stuff, go over to Wife of Crime on YouTube. We have like 3 videos there, and we we might put some more if like people want it one day.
Yeah, we do have like 3 videos. Okay. In cases where wives kill husbands or husbands kill wives, there are sometimes complexities that arise mucking the waters and causing us to question if the crime is, dare I say, justifiable. Just like Karina Smith that we talked about earlier.
Well, when you're protecting an innocent person, I believe like a lot of times it's justifiable.
Obviously, 90% of the time, anyone killing someone they claim to love is not justifiable, and the perpetrator of the crime deserves to be punished. However, I love to talk about cases on here that bring us into the gray, that make us think a little less black and white. I think it's fascinating to hear stories that challenge us and our moral compass. In this case, the case of Susan Wright did just that for me. The night Susan Wright violently murdered her husband could easily be written off as one of the 90% where we say, lock her up and throw away the key. But looking deeper into the story and the years surrounding the day Susan snapped may paint a different picture. Was Susan a cold-blooded murderer or just a woman who had had enough? Are you ready?
Yep. Isn't there a show called Snapped?
Yes, there is. Susan and Jeff Wright met when she was a waitress at a Galveston restaurant in 1997. Galveston is about an hour from Houston, where Jeff lived. Susan was 21 and Jeff 29. They had an instant connection, and he began to woo her with flowers and gifts and kindness.
So you don't mean like a woo, like when Ric Flair chops her in the chest. You mean like, so he didn't pop her?
No, woo her as in romance her. Jeff would call Susan 2 to 3 times a day and made her feel like a queen with all of his attention and devotion.
This was the 90s, you said?
Yes.
So he was probably calling only during nights and weekends because the minutes weren't free during the day. You only had like 300.
It was 1997. He often spoke of wanting a house, a family, and a dog, which Susan thought sounded wonderful. According to her, she grew up in a home with fighting, and she watched her dad verbally and emotionally abuse her mom. The thought of a perfect family life with Jeff was so attractive to her. The couple married just a year after meeting. Susan was 8.5 months pregnant with their first child at the time of the wedding. Shortly after the wedding, Susan gave birth to their son, Bradley. According to Susan, Jeff became a completely different person once they got married. Jeff was a successful carpet salesman, and Susan was a stay-at-home mom. According to Susan, Jeff demanded that the home be perfectly kept, the laundry to be washed and put away, the meals were to be cooked, and Bradley was to be cleaned and quiet when he returned home from work. Susan said if these demands weren't met, he would be physically and verbally abusive to her.
Oh, damn.
In 2002, Susan gave birth to the couple's daughter. Susan stated that the abuse continued and would become worse when Jeff was under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
Normally, when people get married, what really happens, I feel like they just gain weight.
Oh, yeah, that does happen. But in this case, obviously, that's not what happened.
But not me. I'm still fine like it's 99.
She also said that she gained a little bit of weight with her pregnancies.
Knew it.
And Jeff often called her a fat ass and berated her.
Oh, damn.
But looking at pictures of her, she's literally so thin. She's thinner than I am. So clearly he was just doing this to be an abusive piece of shit.
He was trying to get the upper hand probably and have power over her.
Well, he's clearly trying to have power over her all the time. While Susan never filed a complaint with the police, she did confide in her sister about what was happening to her. Her sister noticed bruises on her, and Susan told her that Jeff would beat her when she wasn't the perfect wife. At one point, her sister helped her move out while Jeff was at work. Susan and the children moved in with Susan's parents. However, they only stayed one night, claiming that she really loved Jeff and that she wanted their marriage to work. Prosecutors and Susan have a very different account of what happened on the night Jeff was stabbed and killed. But one thing is certain. Jeff was stabbed 193 times.
That's crazy. I always think like when that's the most I ever heard. And for me to just lift my arm up and down 193 times with enough force to stab someone, like I just probably can't. My arm will collapse.
Yes, it's insane. 193 times. And then he was buried in the backyard of the family home. This is Susan's version of events on the night of January 13th, 2003. Jeff came home from a boxing class, and his eyes looked red. He was all amped up, and Susan quickly realized he was high on cocaine, which he frequently did some coke. He was extremely agitated, as he often was when he was high. He wanted their 4-year-old son to box with him, but the child didn't want to, and Jeff became mad and ended up hitting the child in the face.
Oh.
This scared and enraged Susan. According to Susan, Jeff went to take a shower and then returned to their bedroom with a towel wrapped around his waist. She offered him an ultimatum: get help for his drug use and anger issues, or she and the children would leave. This made Jeff so mad, as his wife was never to tell him what to do or call him out for any of his bad behavior. So Jeff proceeded to throw Susan on the floor and kick her violently multiple times. He then sexually assaulted her. During the assault, she kept her eyes closed. She opened her eyes when she heard him say angrily, "Die, bitch."
Oh.
She saw a knife in his hand and tried to quickly grab it. When she reached to grab the knife, it hit her knee, and this caused her leg to jerk, and she kicked him right in the balls. So he toppled over in pain, and when he did, the knife fell out of his hand, so she grabbed it. And she climbed on top of him and stabbed him in the neck. He tried to get the knife back, and then she stabbed him in the chest and couldn't stop stabbing him for fear that he would get control of the knife and kill her. Susan said at one point their 4-year-old son knocked on the bedroom door. She stopped stabbing Jeff, tied him with neckties to the bed, and then went out to get her son and put her son back to sleep. Came back in the bedroom, and then she continued to stab him. After a while, she decided to move his body out of the bedroom. She tried to drag him, but he was too heavy for her. During her attempt to drag him, his head and shoulder hit the nightstand, causing a candle to fall off the nightstand and hot wax to spill on his leg and groin area. She ended up grabbing a dolly from the garage, tying him to it. She pushed him out to the backyard and then pushed him face down into a hole that Jeff had recently dug up so that he could install a fountain.
He dug his own grave.
He did. She covered him up as best she could and then returned inside. Susan said she stayed awake all night because she feared he would come back to life and kill her. Prosecutors...
That's a little kooky.
Well, yeah. She's also, probably in a state of shock, maybe even a little bit of like a psychotic state.
If she took a break, tied him up, went back to stabbing him, she got to be a little crazy.
Or she snapped. Prosecutors didn't buy the story. They claimed that Susan pretended to want to play sex games, lured him into the bedroom, undressed him, and he allowed her to tie him to the bed. They believe that once he was tied up, she poured hot wax on him and then relentlessly stabbed him. The day after the killing, Susan went to the police station to file a domestic abuse report and request a restraining order against her husband.
She's starting to make herself look guilty.
Police noticed the cuts all over her hands, and she told them it was from Jeff's keys. She had been holding them as he violently grabbed the keys from her hands, and that cut her. Police asked Susan where Jeff was, and she claimed not to know. She said after their fight, he said, "Fuck this house, I'm tired of you and the kids," and then he just left. So a warrant was issued for his arrest. On January 18th, which was 5 days after the killing, attorney Neil Davis was hired by Susan's family and called to go to her home. When he arrived at Susan's house, she confessed to killing Jeff and burying him in the backyard to the lawyer. But Neil Davis was a brand new lawyer. He recently graduated law school, and he's now faced with this horrible information. He has to tell. Like, there is lawyer-client confidentiality to a point.
Oh, damn.
But you can't just know about a murder and not say anything. So he ended up contacting the Harris County DA's office to inform them that they would find a body buried in the backyard of the Wrights' home.
Yeah, I didn't know that your lawyer had to say.
Well, in this instance, he had to report it because, like, it's not like they're at trial defending, and he's defending her and she's already charged. She hasn't even been charged yet. So, like, he now knows, and he could be an accessory to murder by knowing this information and not telling the police. Police went to the home to check out the claim and discovered Jeff's body partially buried. They could see the back of his head and his left arm. There were still ligatures tied around his wrists and ankles. The family dog had discovered the body and tried digging up Jeff's remains.
Oh, man's best friend.
Neil Davis told the DA's office that Susan had committed herself to a psychiatric hospital. While she was voluntarily at the hospital, her home and backyard were searched. Police found the mattress, which was saturated in blood, and the broken apart headboard and bed frame in the backyard near the body. Police also found empty bleach bottles and clothing that had been bleached. They discovered freshly painted walls in the bedroom. However, they were able to see blood spatter on the walls, ceiling, and furniture. They also found that a portion of the carpet and padding had been cut out, and a receipt for the bleach was found, as well as bloodstained jeans and a bloodstained towel. Susan turned herself in on January 24th. She was charged with first-degree murder and arraigned. She pleaded not guilty by reason of self-defense. The trial began 13 months later, on February 24th, 2004. Unfortunately for Susan, Assistant DA Kelly Siegler was assigned to the case. Kelly Siegler is a force to be reckoned with. She is nicknamed the Giant Killer. Siegler never lost a case during her career as a prosecutor.
No way.
She tried 68 murder cases and won all of them.
Damn, she's a savage.
She also was able to get 19 death row sentences for the cases she tried. When Siegler finally retired, she had her own TV show titled Cold Justice. She and her team researched unsolved cases, and they actually were able to solve a few of them.
So she's like a detective and a lawyer.
Well, she's a prosecutor, and yeah, I mean, she's definitely a force. She's well known in Houston and the surrounding areas. She's highly respected and very feared. Prior to the trial starting, Siegler told reporters, "Where I come from, there's another answer for abuse, and that's called divorce."
True that.
Siegler and her co-counsel tried to portray Susan as a greedy wife who wanted to start a new life. Before she met Jeff, Susan was a topless dancer for 1 month.
Oh.
Prosecutors used this against her. Siegler said that upon Jeff's death, she was going to collect $200,000 in life insurance. The medical examiner testified that Jeff was actually stabbed, I will say this again because it is insane, 193 times, all on the front of his body. So this showed that he had been tied up when he was being stabbed because he was laying down. They're not defense wounds.
So that's when the lawyers that are, the prosecuting lawyers that are going against her, their story seems like it could be a little true. Like they were saying that she tied him up in a sex thing. And
that's what the prosecutor said. Where she said that she tied him up after she had already stabbed him so that she could put her son back to bed.
Yeah. So like the things that the prosecutor is saying are feasible. Like it could make sense. And I get the truth is always somewhere in between everything.
Yeah.
And she tried to cover a lot up, it seems like, too, which is crazy.
She did.
That really does make you look guilty.
During the autopsy, the tip of the knife was found embedded in Jeff's skull.
Oof.
None of the stab wounds were identified as the fatal wound, but it was the amount of wounds and the loss of blood that actually killed him. Last year, Save More Money was the most popular New Year's resolution in America. Clearly, a lot of us feel like our money is slipping through our fingers. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not the best saver, and I don't know much about investing until I started saving and investing with Acorns. Turns out you don't have to be an expert at all because Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. And I always thought that when people say, ooh, I invest in stocks, that they had a ton of money or something. Well, you don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. You can literally start with $5. And you guys are spending that at Starbucks on these fancy lattes. So skip the coffee and invest with Acorns. You don't even need a ton of time. Like you can just sign up and start investing within 5 minutes. Head over to acorns.com/wifeofcrime or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. That's acorns.com/wifeofcrime. You guys already know because we have been talking about them for a while now. Via Hemp is by far one of our favorite sponsors we've ever had, okay? We use their products all the time. Maybe you're a little like me. You're a little anxious. You have a hard time settling down. You're kind of wound up a lot. If that's you, Via Hemp products are for you. Check out their website. You will find something that speaks to you. Maybe you're like Russ. You have a hard time sleeping because you have bad nerve pain or chronic pain. then Via Hemp is for you because their gummies will help you get some quality sleep. Maybe you're looking to have a really good time. Maybe you just really like edibles. You want to laugh. You want to get the munchies. You want to watch a movie and have a really strong belly laugh. Then Via Hemp products are for you, okay? They're literally for everybody. So head over to viahemp.com, promo code wifeofcrime1 to get 15% off your first order. That's VIIAHEMP.com, wifeofcrime1 for 15% off your first order. Jeff's mom testified that he had called her on the way home that night, and he seemed totally fine to her when they spoke. She stated that Susan called her later talking about how Jeff was under the influence of coke, and when he got home, he was acting irate. But Susan told her that she told him to leave the home, and he did.
Was there a toxicology report?
I'm about to look at my next sentence. Are you ready?
Good.
The toxicology report indicated...
Styling and profiling.
I also
am
am impressed that you said toxicology report.
What do you think? I only use 2-syllable words?
No, I thought you would say something like, oh, was there actually drugs in his system?
A drug test or something?
Yeah, but you said toxicology report. Very impressed.
Well, I've taken a lot of drug tests. They send you to LabCorp.
Well, this is a different situation.
Well, not because I do drugs, folks. It's just like jobs that I was on always made you do that before you started a new project.
Yeah. Well, the toxicology report indicated that Jeff was under the influence of alcohol, cocaine, and GHB. GHB is the date rape drug. At the time he was killed.
So now it looks like she gave it to him, the date rape drug.
I mean, it could have been that, but it could have been that he took it recreationally. People do take GHB recreationally, and he already had coke in his system and alcohol.
How do you date rape yourself?
No, it's just called the date rape drug, but they take it because it makes them high.
Yeah, but I thought it passes you out.
No, it depends on the amount. People who drug people give them a high amount of GHB.
Yeah, see, I don't know nothing about that. I didn't even think that's a drug that you can buy. You got to go to some underground skeevy shit. It ain't like just some dude in a bar yo, I got some coke.
Yeah, no.
It's like, yo, I got this rape drug. Who wants to rape someone in here tonight?
No, it's so crazy where people get it. I don't even know where you would get it.
And if you did, don't tell. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where to get drugs. People used to ask me in the bar when I was bartending, do you party? And I didn't know that it meant coke. And I'd be like, nah, I don't really go out that much. So sometimes I'm a little naive.
Prosecutors told the jury Susan changed the outgoing message on the family's answering machine after she killed him. The new message did not include Jeff's name. Neil Davis, Susan's attorney, told the court and jury that she suffered many years of physical and emotional abuse. She felt like she had to kill Jeff to protect herself and her children. A number of witnesses testified that they had seen bruises on Susan on a few occasions. They even said that she had a black eye. Susan's sister testified that she would give Susan $75 a week to cover any expenses she had because Jeff would only allow her to spend a certain amount of money each week. And at times, her sister claimed that she didn't even have enough money for groceries.
See, that's bullshit. Sometimes I tell Jess, can you stop buying decorations for the house? We only have one place to decorate, but not anything if she wants that's essential. But sometimes things are extra.
Yeah.
When I would buy probably too many bikes back in the day that led to my demise.
Oh, stop. Well, this is a different situation. He would give her an allowance, and it usually wasn't even enough money for groceries.
That's crazy. You got to eat. And there's a kid at home.
And there's 2 kids. A statement was read in court that Susan's mom had given to police. She wrote that Susan told her that she killed Jeff with a knife and that she buried him in a hole that he dug for the installation of a fountain. Her statement also read that Susan told her, "Mama, it wasn't me. I snapped. I was up there and I saw somebody do it, but I swear it wasn't me." And she didn't mean it actually wasn't her. She meant that person doing that act, it wasn't her normal character. The defense hired a psychiatrist that interviewed Susan. He told the court that Susan was depressed, disassociated from reality, easily frightened, and was paranoid that Jeff would return from the dead and kill her. He diagnosed her with post-traumatic stress disorder and classified her as a battered woman. Because Susan was claiming self-defense, she had to take the stand. She was extremely emotional during her testimony. She stated, "I couldn't stop stabbing him. I couldn't stop. I knew as soon as I stopped, he was going to get the knife back and he was going to kill me. I didn't want to die." During Kelly Siegler's cross-examination of Susan, she asked her, "When you stabbed him the 89th time or the 158th time, was your arm getting tired?" Susan responded, "I was in such shock, pure terror, and fear, it never even occurred to me." Siegler said she got pissed off at Susan during the trial when she showed Susan a picture of the stabbings of the groin area, and Susan looked away and acted offended. She did this to him, and her act of being scared and upset irritated her. Siegler stated that the knife is a murder weapon, and so is the bed. So get this.
The bed?
She actually brought the actual bed, right? The bed that the crime happened on. She brought it into court, reassembled it in the courtroom for the jury to see with all the blood all over it. She tied up one of her co-counsel.
Oh, chill.
Got on top of him and straddled him, and she used a ruler instead of a knife, and she counted out 193 stabs.
She was probably sweating.
As she pretended to stab her co-counsel, she wanted to show the jury how long it actually takes to stab someone 193 times.
I bet it's like 5 minutes of nonstop.
During the closing arguments, Siegler told the jury that Susan's emotions were insincere, and her tears were simply shed to manipulate the jury into feeling sorry for her. She referred to Susan as a card-carrying, obvious, no doubt about it, caught red-handed, confirmed, documented liar. Those were her exact words. The judge instructed the jury to consider the special issue of whether Susan caused death under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause.
Wait, an inadequate cause?
An adequate cause.
Like that means like she had a good reason to kill him?
Yeah.
Like self-defense.
Yeah, like the judge wanted the jury to consider this circumstance altogether. Like, was his death completely premeditated, or was it under the immediate influence of a sudden passion that came from the fact that she's a battered woman?
Yeah, this one's tough because how long she was stabbing him and all the cover-up stuff she did.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes her look bad.
Well, the jury deliberated for 5 hours, and on March 3rd, 2004, they returned with a guilty verdict for first-degree murder. She was sentenced the following day. Prosecutors wanted at least 45 years, and the defense argued for probation. During the sentencing, Susan's mom took the stand and told the jury that Susan was the sweetest person she knew. Jeff's dad also took the stand and said Susan was pure evil.
Ooh.
He admitted to knowing about Jeff's drug problem, but said that Jeff had it under control. He told the court that Susan didn't have any symptoms of abuse. He also said, quote, "We don't abuse our women, we love our women," which, ew, the way he worded that grosses me out.
I didn't think that was that bad.
We don't abuse our women, we love our women. It just feels so like...
I guess it sounds possessive.
Yes. The jury sentenced her to 25 years. One juror was later interviewed and told reporters that he didn't believe Susan's account of the story. He said there were too many holes in her story for it to be remotely believable.
Yeah.
In 2005, an appeal was filed with the 14th Court of Appeals in Texas. The court upheld her conviction and sentencing. But then in 2008, another appeal was filed. It was filed on the grounds that Susan had ineffective counsel because he did not call an expert on battered women to the stand. Also, the appeal stated that not enough witnesses were called to show Jeff's actual character, to kind of confirm his drug abuse and that he was a violent person and he had a lot of anger issues.
Was domestic violence ever reported before this?
Not from Susan, but just wait. During the appeal, her new attorneys presented a new witness. Her name was Misty McMichael, and she is the wife of former NFL Super Bowl champion Steve McMichael,
who I don't know.
She was formally engaged to Jeff and testified that he was very abusive during their relationship. And he actually once threw her down a flight of stairs and cut her with broken glass at a bar. Like, that's crazy. This is crazy behavior. This is violent behavior.
Yeah, I wish he would have reported it. And then, well, it's stupid for me to even say that, because then we wouldn't get to this point. You know, no one knows what's the right thing to do.
Well,
I know what the right thing to do is. You got to report them.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, that's what makes this case kind of difficult, is like, he clearly was a scumbag.
Yeah.
Like, it's obvious he was a scumbag piece of shit. I completely believe he was abusive to her. I completely believe that he berated her, called her names. He was probably abusive to his children. He punched his little kid, who's 4 years old, in the face because he didn't want to box with him.
That's crazy.
Like, he's a terrible human being.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with her that she probably snapped and lost her mind and just kept stabbing him because she was afraid that he was going to kill her if she didn't continue.
I'll never understand the 190-something stabs, though.
That's
never.
nuts.
I won't.
It is nuts.
And what makes it like where I feel like she knew what she was doing is because he was tied up. She left the room, came back, and started again.
Yeah.
So to me, that's where it's like, all right, you knew what you were doing at that time.
Yeah, it's tough.
You actually took a break.
She probably just was like, done. Like, she just wanted him dead.
Yeah, but
and took all those years of anger out on him.
You can't be more dead. Once you're dead,
no,
you're
it's
dead.
true. I'm not. I know. That's true.
Reminds me of the time when when I got arrested once, and the cops wanted to fingerprint me. And I was like, I ain't letting you do nothing. And they was like, well, you have to, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what you gonna do, arrest me more?
Yeah.
I'm already arrested.
True. In 2009, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals granted Susan a new sentencing hearing. They determined that Susan's attorney rendered ineffective assistance during the punishment phase of the trial. So on November 20th, 2010, Susan's sentence was reduced to 20 years, which, it's 5 years less. She got 25 originally. Now 5 years was knocked off her sentence.
And, if she gets probation, she'll be out, who knows, maybe 15 or so.
So Susan was eligible for parole February 28th, 2014, but it was denied. She was again denied parole in July of 2014. On July 2nd, 2020, Susan was finally granted parole. She was released on December 30th, 2020, at the age of 44.
Okay, so she still has a lot of life left.
She does. On the day of her release, cameras were at her family's home to capture glimpses of her and a possible statement. As she got out of the car, she told reporters, "Please don't do this to my family. I would just like a little privacy. Please respect that." Susan has no legal rights to her children. They were legally adopted by a member of Jeff's family. So they're probably told all these horrible things about her, I'm sure.
It's still a bad situation for the children, no matter 100%. What the reasons were.
It is a bad situation.
Like the children got a bad deal.
But what if she protected her kids from being abused their entire life?
I can't. I don't know.
Because he punched his 4-year-old in the face for not boxing with him.
Well, yeah, he's a piece of shit. And it's better that he's not in their lives, but the children are still going to suffer from knowing that their father was murdered in such a horrific way.
And never having their mother's love.
And their mother's in jail their whole life. So
I know. Susan had to wear a GPS monitor and was not allowed to leave the state of Texas. She had to undergo counseling for anger control, and she had to get a job. There's nowhere on the internet that says where she got a job.
See, but the thing is, she used to work at the titty bar, and now she's 44, that she probably can't work at the titty bar no more.
I told you she only did that for 1 month, and it was when she was way younger. They just used it against her at trial. She was a waitress for a long time.
Well, I was just wondering if she'd get back into old line of work.
No, I'm sure not. So she has kept her life very, very private. Her parole ended February 28th of this year. It just ended.
Wow, she made it.
And she's now completely free.
Yeah, now she's probably going to listen to this.
She could listen to this. She could put her name in the search bar in Instagram and she's going to pop right up. Battered women who snap and resort to extreme violence often find themselves in like a desperate situation where they feel like there's no other means to escape from this ongoing abuse. According to credible sources such as research by psychologist Lenore Walker, the cycle of violence and abusive relationships can lead to a state of learned helplessness and severe psychological trauma. And this can all come together and culminate in a moment of crisis where the victim feels like their only option for survival is to retaliate incredibly violently against the abuser.
Well, I understand retaliating to an abuser. I definitely do.
Yeah. The concept of battered woman syndrome is what brings this phenomenon all together. It shows that prolonged exposure to abuse can kind of distort one's perceptions of danger and self-defense. And it just shows that there's a critical need for us in society and for our legal system to understand all the dynamics in play in abusive relationships and to show victims that they have other means of support and other ways to protect themselves before they reach this point of murdering their abuser.
Yeah, because you're not just hurting the person that's abusing you. There's so many other people you're hurting, like your children, yourself, your family.
Yeah.
Their family. Like, even though you may hate the person that's abusing you, maybe their family's fine. Like,
it's very tough though, because when someone is being abused by their spouse, they're also backed into this corner of feeling there, like I just said, like there's no escape. And so they don't feel like there's any way out. And it's because this abuser has this power over them and has created this environment where this person feels trapped. The case of Susan Wright is a poignant reminder of the complexities surrounding domestic violence and the challenges in trying cases where self-defense is claimed. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the dynamics of power and control within intimate relationships and the tragic consequences that can arise when these power dynamics go unchecked. This case is a sobering example of how our legal system navigates the murky waters of domestic violence and self-defense. And we need a lot more sensitivity and understanding because it just, perpetuates abuse and it victimizes those that are already vulnerable.
Well, it's just the way she went about it. If, like, self-defense would have been a lot easier to defend in court if, like, there was one stab wound and then he died, or two, or, things like that. But when you do that, it makes you seem aggressive.
I agree. I think that with her case in particular, there is a lot of gray area here. And that's why this case challenged me, because I go back and forth. Like, yes, 193 times is completely excessive and it's crazy. And I can't even fathom it. And I think the fact that Kelly Siegler is such a G that she brought the bed into the courtroom, straddled her co-counsel, and counted out 193 times, like, that is a gangster move on her part to prove to the jury how long it takes to go through with that. That's insane. So 193 times is incredibly excessive. But at the same time, Jeff was a scumbag and a terrible human being, and clearly has done horrible things to other women, has done bad things to his kids, and done horrible things to this woman. And so it's almost like I don't blame her for her anger and for snapping. But the way she went about it, it does look pretty bad. Like, it does look a little premeditated.
I wonder if he came home and he was already drugged up or drunk, and she gave him the date rape drug and then tied him up and then killed him, because then he couldn't really fight back.
That's a good point. I mean, it could have been that she premeditated the entire thing. She planned the whole thing, and he came home. And I mean, listen, after being abused for that many years, I'm sure you're going to think about how you would want to kill him.
Yeah.
You know, like but it's just an interesting case. I feel like this case is really one of those that makes me think about all the angles. And I love that. I like things that challenge me and make me think, okay, how do I feel about this or that? Because I don't think there is a black and white answer in this case. I think anybody can say, nope, that's it. She should be locked up. Boom. End of story. And I don't think anyone can definitively say what is right or wrong in this. Yeah, she shouldn't murder someone. Yeah, you should have to pay for it in some capacity. But just like the case I talked about in the beginning with the mom who poured the boiling water on her husband because he sexually assaulted her children, that's another case where it's not black and white. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel that a lot of people will choose a side on this case where they think she should go to jail or shouldn't. And probably people that have been abused or, by their spouse may side with her.
And understand where she's coming from.
But if they're listening to this, they probably didn't stab their spouse 100 and something times.
Can you listen to podcasts in jail?
They sneak phones in their butt.
They do sneak phones in their butt, but do they have like the ability? I heard that federal prison is more lenient. Like they get TV, they have like more privileges in federal prison.
That's what I hear too, but I'm not a jailologist.
I know. We just watched 60 Days In. That's the only jail exposure that I get. And Scared Straight.
Oh yeah, Scared Straight, and that's where the Booty Bandit came from.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone in jail can listen to us. That would be interesting.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking about? You were talking about the guy that got the hot water poured on him with the sugar. Mm-hmm. That reminded me of the story in the ER when the guy spilled hot water and melted his dick off.
Oh, God.
That's why I'm scared to boil water.
It is scary. You guys have to be careful.
You could melt your dick off.
It was a horrible case. It was horrible. I can't go into details because of HIPAA, but just know that men do not boil water and make pasta in just your underwear. Don't do it.
Listen, men, have your wife cook your dinner like a good wife should.
Shut up. On that note, thank you guys for tuning back in. I'm curious to hear how you guys feel about this case because this one really interested me. Definitely comment below. Let us know what you think. And I'm curious to hear your opinions on this one. Especially, I also feel like there might be some differences between how women feel about this one and how men feel about this one because women tend to be more victimized and men tend to be, in general, the abusers. Obviously, there's outliers. You don't have to come for me. I know that.
Yeah, because look how aggressive Jess is. If someone was going to be abused in this relationship, who do you think it would be, folks? Yeah, look at her laughing.
Russ, with all that smart-ass talk you talk, it's going to end up like Diary of a Mad Black Woman in this house if you aren't careful. Have you ever seen that movie?
See, folks? Hey, guys, in my court case, make sure you play these clips.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
That movie is crazy.
Where she got him in the bathtub and he's like drowning and shit?
Well, because he beat the shit out of her. He abused her. He was a terrible person.
He cheated on her and all that.
Did all these terrible things to her. And then he ends up paralyzed. And then she comes to take care of his ass. And she tortures him. Yeah. Because she was like, she had had enough. But that's a great movie. I haven't seen that movie in years. I might watch it later. It's so good. I'm not watching
that. I don't like that.
I like Tyler Perry's movies.
Well, you sure do.
I do.
Jess, I literally would always wonder with Tyler Perry movies. I was like, who watches these Medea movies? How do they keep making more?
And then he met me. And I love Tyler Perry movies. I love Family Reunion. I love Diary of a Mad Black Woman. They're two of my favorite movies.
I was thinking nobody watches these. Like, who wants to see this dude dressed up as a big old grandma?
Well, Medea isn't a big part of those two movies.
Doesn't matter. You lost me at Medea.
Medea's just a character, but the other ones are the star. She's not the star of those movies. I didn't watch the other Medea movies. Those are the only two that I like. I didn't really get into the other ones.
I don't find it funny.
And I like his other movies.
He's just big and dumb.
Well, it was funny. The first time I ever told Russ that Diary of a Mad Black Woman was one of my favorite movies, he was like, "What? You're the only person on the planet that likes Tyler Perry movies," which isn't true because he's a billionaire now.
Yeah, because your parents like fucking Medea too.
They do. My parents love Diary of a Mad Black Woman and Family Reunion.
It's not even funny. If I'm going to watch a cross-dressing show, of maybe Mrs. Doubtfire would be more funny.
God.
Hello.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning back in. Have a wonderful week. Check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod and Facebook at Wife of Crime The Crime Family and wifeofcrime.com for all the merch and
PSA, folks. It's summer. You don't have to keep posting how hot it is outside on Instagram. We all know it's the motherfucking summer. Post if it snows during the summer.
That's true.
Later, folks.
So many people keep posting how hot it is. It's like, duh, it's July almost. Well, it's June. Guys, Russ is turning, I won't say the age, the next age on June 25th. This episode will be released the day after your birthday.
We've been ending this podcast for the last 10 minutes.
All right, everyone.
This is like the conversation you have with your mom on the phone.
So true. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Wear sunblock. Peace.